This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. There are many films that show the relationship between a patient and their therapist, such as Good Will Hunting, Analyze This, and even The Sopranos. They can take comical or dramatic turns in their approach to reach positive mental health wellness. While we all escape into these worlds of fiction, we all must come back to reality where issues are real. Sometimes we all need a little help trying to find our inner peace, and that is where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/screenaddicts. That's betterhelp.com/screenaddicts.
Do you need to trim up the home box office before taking your lady or gent to the motion picture show? Then I suggest you go to manscaped.com and purchase the Lawnmower 4.0. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer helps reduce nicks. It reduces the risk of ingrown hairs, and it reduces the risk of grooming accidents. If you go to manscaped.com, be sure to enter in the promo code SCREENADDICTS for an additional 20% off your order and free shipping. Again, that is promo code SCREENADDICTS. SCREENADDICTS, and we'll see you at the movies.
Recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Fire up the projectors, turn on your TVs, and adjust your antennas. It's time for the Screen Addicts Podcast.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Screen Addicts Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Cinema, Steven the Bat Boy Sosa.
And I am your other co-host, as always, Chris the Great Bambino Villegas.
That's actually very suiting for you, Chris. Well done with the nickname. And we also have a very special guest this week joining us on the podcast. Special guest, you're up to bat.
Oh, I like it. Special guest. I feel a little pressure. I'm not going to lie. I feel like have to be a home run hitter right now. But I am Brandon. Let's say Brandon, the off-speed pitch Sosa here. So there you go.
Oh, so Sosa as well. Chris, I just want to let you know there's no collusion on any of these picks. We're not working together against you. I just wanted to put that out there.
Here's the thing.
Or are we?
The 6 years we've been... Of course, y'all are Sosas. Of course, there's always something. The 6 years we've been in this podcast, bro, I've never had any family members, and we're like in your third and fifth cousins now, man.
And we have them too.
hey, the branches go real far out there.
They sure do. They start in Mundy, Texas, too, don't they?
They do.
Gosh.
That's where the root is, right there.
Indeed.
So.
Well, Brandon, thank you for coming on to this podcast, and tell us a little bit about yourself and your show and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you guys, Chris, Steven, of course, having me on the show. It's crazy that you and I both have podcasts going on now. It's something that is kind of silly and also great at the same time. I guess you could say co-host a sports podcast. We are Off Our Game. Our Twitter is @OffOurGame. We do our best every week to just be four regular guys that talk about sports. You know, we don't claim to be experts. We don't claim to know everything, but we do claim to be your typical armchair quarterback on a Monday, complaining about every call, every bad thing that happens to the Cowboys or anything else that could happen to our other favorite teams that we do. We just tried our best to, put out a show every week, and we are at 145 episodes. We're doing our best to bring in guests and interviews now. So, yeah, if anybody's listening out there would like to listen to our podcast, it's at Off Our Game. Off Our Game on Spotify and Google Podcast and Apple Podcasts. So anywhere you could probably find a podcast, we're there. And so I'm a pleasure to be part of you guys today.
Well, we appreciate it. And you said Off Our Game podcast. All right, we'll be we'll be sure to tag that into the notes and everything. And It's funny. I like how you mentioned that you don't claim to be professionals, but you just like to talk about it because you're in pretty good business over here. Because that's exactly how we like to do things. It's exactly how we roll too. So it's pretty good. Well, if our listeners listeners haven't caught on to the fact of our nicknames, we're going to be talking about baseball movies. But not only are we going to be talking about baseball movies, we are doing a baseball draft. And not drafting baseball movies, but we're going back to the theme that we did a couple of years ago about the fantasy football draft. But since baseball season is upon us, Chris had the brilliant idea of doing a baseball draft. Chris, please tell us a little bit more about the rules of this baseball draft.
So what we'll be doing is like Steven said, it's like a fantasy football draft. We're going to be picking one pitcher, one catcher, one fielder, a hitter, and a manager tonight. We're all going through the rounds just like a fantasy draft, forwards then backwards. But the little special twist, the plot twist, may I say, is that we are each allowed one steal. Not one steal per round, just one steal for the whole entire thing. So if there is a character that, say, Steven is probably going to pick that I want, which more than likely will happen, I will have the option to take that pick from him, and he will have to pick again. This is fun. This is one of the ones, like, we usually share each other's picks and this and that. Right now we're going in blind. We have no idea what anybody is going to be picking or what route they're going with, anything, so this is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. It's club against club. It's the Moneyball of movie podcast. So that being said, our guests always have the luxury. Usually one would draw for fantasy football picks, but in our true Screen Addicts fashion, we allow our guests the first up to bat. And so, Brandon, please. I mean, do y'all want to do it per category, or do you just want to
we'll
keep
do
on
per
track?
Category, so
okay.
Because our steals too, so we could keep within the same one.
Okay,
so we'll go. Let's say we'll start with the pitchers and we'll end with managers. So we'll go
Perfect.
Pitchers, catchers, fielders, hitters, managers.
So we're adding catchers? I thought it was just pitcher, hitter, pitcher, fielder, hitter, and manager. Because a fielder is essentially a catcher, right? I mean, he's on the field.
Essentially, but you know, baseball rules, bro. Catchers are a whole different world, man.
But I thought hey, Brandon, you're the sports podcast. I mean, where do you weigh in?
Brandon,
are catchers
what
considered
do
a
you
fielder?
think?
I think catcher's a special category. I think the catcher, in a sense, is the manager on the field. Now, I'm not saying that they're not a fielder, but there's only so many, how do I say this, relevant catchers in a movie whenever I was looking at this myself, too. So in the interest of keeping it simple, I say we go with fielder and include catchers as a part of that.
Okay, that's good. Okay, well, Chris, I will give you credit because I don't want to have to hear this shit for the rest of my life. Chris was right. I was wrong. I wrestled. I didn't play baseball, so that's where I go. All right, so pitcher. We're going to start with pitchers. And Brandon, please tell us your choice of pitcher.
Okay, well, there's a lot of pitchers to go through, and I was trying to figure out exactly how I would go about this. But if I was thinking somebody that would match my style when I played baseball, I'm going to go out with the great Ricky Vaughn, Major League.
Oh, coming out
right out of the bat, baby. I need a power pitcher on my lineup.
Ooh, Chris, do you want to steal one right off the bat? Like that's a
no.
Like, you can do it. I got a whole lineup of pitchers, baby. You can go there.
That's a great one too, man. That's
Yeah.
one of the best. That's one of the best ones that because there's a couple of characters that I feel like all of us are going to want to take or have already in our arsenal in the batting lineup, and that's definitely one of them. But I don't think I'm going to steal it. Although Charlie Sheen in Major League as Rick Wild Thing Vaughn is such a great part. He kind of sucked in Major League too, but then again, so did everybody else. So, but man, that first movie is so great. And
oh yeah,
I mean, when we brought up this whole topic of baseball movies, I mean, Major League, that could field your entire team right there with all those characters.
Oh, absolutely.
So why choose Rick Wild Thing Vaughn for you?
Well, I chose Rick Wild Thing Vaughn. Like I said, in the beginning, he was an uncontrolled pitcher, right? He lacked the discipline, but as the movie progresses, as the character progresses, he turns into a great dominating, fastball pitcher. But I actually have to go into Major League 2 with this a little bit also, because in the Major League 2, was he great in Major League 2? No, but he, as a pitcher, if I'm thinking of him as a pitcher, he tries to spread his net and become a more diverse pitcher, and I think that was kudos of any good pitcher. You become a power pitcher, a controlled pitcher, and then you try to, bring more pitches into your arsenal. So as a whole, I thought as a character and as a pitcher, he grew. So I took with Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn.
And I mean, he did grow. I mean, he came from the California Penal League, so that's definite growth. And, you know, skull black frame glasses were also part of the entire look there, and it pulled it off so well.
And he turned to 180, like you say, and then he turned to 180 back towards the end of Major League too. I mean, he went back to his roots once he knew he needed to as well. So,
absolutely,
got to know where you come from.
Great first pick for your team. You know, I should have thought about like a team name. Maybe we'll do that later. I don't know. But Chris, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go?
No, you go ahead.
Sounds good. My pick for pitcher is the young man from Chicago, Illinois, Henry Rudamacher Rabenhoser Rowan Gardner, with a broken arm, mind you, because, you know, without it, he's just rowing his little boat with his buddies. That's just not as super powerful. That kid, man, when we were little kids, that was the pitcher. Like, talk about living a dream. Especially in the 90s, baseball was so glamorous to kids of the 90s, and just the way that some of the players were. So the fact that you saw this little twerp go in there and get to play with the major leagues. And this movie was great because it actually had Major League Baseball cameos. Like, he was striking out Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonilla, like some of the best hitters in the entire game. And I mean, you just can't beat that. You can't beat that fast pitch. Sure, it's, you know, a little bit of a fantasy, but that's the point of this whole draft. You're picking the best possible players that you can get. And my pick is Thomas Ian Nicholas as Henry Rowan Gardner from Rookie of the Year.
You know what I liked about his character even more, though, Stephen, just as I liked after he, I guess, re-broke his arm in the movie, right? He lost his fastball, right? That he used his mom's little slow pitch right at the end to get the guy out. I mean, that's incredible. I enjoyed that.
Just float it. Or what did she say? Something like that. Yeah. But so, see, brains, too.
Let me ask you, Brandon, in a real baseball game, could that have actually happened?
Could that have actually happened? No, probably not. You hang the ball up there that long, you should get your timing right. You should do that. However, it's clever because it's at least off speed. It's a different look, right, from a batter's perspective. So at least you're changing the view of the batter and making him look differently. You know, in North Time you have a strike zone, right? But it's clever. Would it happen in real life? Probably not. That thing would probably be still floating in the air right now. If it was
Damn, Brandon got all scientific with it. I just would have said yes, because it's a damn movie, Chris. It's a fantasy.
I said in real life.
Well, yeah, I guess. Well, I don't know. Or not? Who was the big dude that he was throwing against? And I mean, he was all upper body. So if he has to shift to a certain angle to hit a falling pitch, he may not be able to connect, Chris. So I'm going to stick with that. I think Henry Rowan Gardner used his brains on that one. I mean, because he kind of had to. But all right, Chris, let's see this picture. I want to see who you have on the mound.
All right, man.
Yeah, I want this too,
on
Chris.
My mound, on my starting pitcher for the Viegas Voltage. That's my team name, right? I'm going to go with a pitcher from Bull Durham. Ebby Nuke Lalouche.
Oh, that was a great pick.
That is good. Damn it.
Dude, Tim Robbins in Bull Durham. Dude, come on. He's going to take Rowan Gardner's job in a heartbeat, son.
But I don't know, man. He had a lot of issues that he was dealing with, and he had to bring Kevin Costner off the Field of Dreams to come and fix this stuff.
Hey, and I'll tell you this. Kevin Costner's in every baseball damn movie there is. So.
That is true.
He's got like 5 of them. You're right about that.
What is it, like Field of Dreams? Even for Love of the Game, like this guy is all over. It was kind of weird seeing him in Draft Day because I was like, what the hell is Kevin Costner doing? He knows this is a football movie, right? He should have been in Moneyball. What's going on here?
I was to say, I do give you, he had a lot of problems, for sure. But what professional player doesn't? I mean, look at all the players now. Like, they all got some kind of mental health problems.
Yeah.
Lalouche was just the pioneer of it.
Right. He showed you what could be done with a little help and assistance. Very well done. And Tim Robbins is like 6'5", so man, the range, he's almost like a Randy Johnson type ball thrower, man. It's some range and speed on that thing.
Dude, and when he's pitching in just his jock out there, he's got the cojones, man.
He sure does. You know, it's funny because that's where he met Susan Sarandon, and they are still married to this day. Like, they've been together for a really long time. And so, some real life drama escalating into something of a true love story. And the best line whenever Crash is talking to him, and he says, "You couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat." Man, I love that movie. I'm going to go so far as to say this, Chris. I think I like Bull Durham more than Field of Dreams. I'm just saying. I personally think Field of Dreams is good, but I do think that there's a bit of romanticism there that kind of elevates the quality of the movie more than it probably should be elevated. But that's just my opinion. I know it's like an all-Americana classic, and I don't know, but I just always found Bull Durham more enjoyable to watch.
I will agree with you on some of that. I think that if you look through, when I was doing my research before it came on, Bull Durham is ranked #1 baseball movie everywhere, right? But I think Field of Dreams, for me as a watcher, I think it's the nostalgia of old baseball. The people that I do my podcast with, I always claim the purity of the game, of the game, right? There is no more purity in the game anymore, right? There's a purity in that old baseball. At least some of it, if there were some scandals even then. But, the purity of old baseball, there wasn't juicing, there wasn't, performance enhancements. We weren't, these guys weren't in the summer, like, cranking out weights and everything. There's a nostalgia to that old baseball.
That's funny that Sosa is talking about not juicing. I'm just saying.
Boy, I was wondering how long it was going to take before this came up. So, Brandon, how many times in your life have you been asked, were you related to Sammy Sosa?
Oh, anytime I meet anybody new, man, Sammy Sosa all the time.
I kind of feel like it's being phased out by like younger generations. I don't, you meet somebody in their 20s or something, I don't think they're going to be asking, Aaron, are you related to Sammy Sosa? Because I just don't think that they know, but hopefully it's getting phased out, but you never know. I doubt it. You're gonna.
I'm bringing it back.
I know, and you did. Now it's going to be out for the rest of our listeners. You know what? Yeah, we are. So that's how we're able to do the podcast. All right, Chris. So I guess it's back to you, man, and it's your topic to choose. So go for it.
Mike. Okay, cool.
I'm ready for this.
Since we're going, we went pitchers. I will go with who they're pitching to. So this is going to be our hitters.
Okay.
And my pick, he has a little help at times, but then he does it himself. Old Pedro Serrano.
Oh, okay. I knew you were going to pick him with or without Joe Boo.
It depends on the time, like if he's got to do it himself sometimes, but Joe Boo's there for a reason, man.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying he did better when he told him to, fuck off. So I guess it kind of works in his favor. But yeah, I mean, it's your pick. So
there's a theme to my picks right now, and it's every baseball player that has apparently been in a scene and just their jock. So it's good,
right? Yeah, he's lifting weights and right? Yeah, I guess it's true. I mean, it's an interesting arc that you're going on, Chris. I hope you have some picks from A League of Their Own on there. But what was it that he couldn't hit? Wasn't it what was it that he couldn't hit?
Couldn't hit the curve.
He couldn't hit the curve
ball.
Trouble with the curve, huh? Yeah, that's
even
right.
That's a good movie too.
That's a really good movie. I was looking at that one too, and I was like, well, there's not really any specific players in this one that I would feel worthy of the draft. We were talking about agents, that maybe Clint Eastwood or Amy Adams would work, but yeah, Pedro Serrano, man, if he could just get a hold of that ball, that's it. It's out of the stadium.
It's over. Yep,
that's pretty good. All right, so any more thoughts on your pick, the voodoo priest himself?
Nope. I keep it clean because Joe Boo will come after you if you don't.
That's true, and you don't steal Joe Boo's rum. Yeah. It's very bad.
And you also bring a live chicken next time. Make sure you have a live chicken.
Should have brought a live chicken. Yeah. All right. So I guess my hitter. Ooh, I had a couple of good ones here, but you know what? I'm going to stick with the Brandanaissance. I'm still going to go with Brendan Fraser as Steve Nebraska in The Scout. I know that he also is a great pitcher, but Steve Nebraska is also known due to his statuesque physique and mental fortitude. Every ball that he hits is basically a home run. So I have to go with Steve Nebraska. Although, we were talking about players with a lot of psychological issues. He definitely has his share. And, but then again, he has someone like Albert Brooks, his scout, to look after him and keep him fed with chocolate bats. So I think he'll be all right. So my hitter is Steve Nebraska from the Scout, played by Brendan Fraser.
Oh, you reach. I don't even remember that one, Steven. That one.
It's so good.
That's a good reach. I like that. That was good.
That movie was one of those movies where it was marketed as a full-on comedy, but when you watch it, you're like, damn, this is really deep stuff. Like, I feel bad for this guy, and there was a lot of dramatic scenes in there, and Diane Weiss plays a therapist that he goes to see, and, they have this whole therapy patient dynamic as far as that goes, and then there's also a lot of great baseball action. Like, he's playing in a Mexican league. Like, he's being hoisted on a throne to the mound in this Mexican league because he's just such an instant legend there. And, the legend of Steve Nebraska, which is what brings Albert Brooks all the way out there to see him play. And, he's throwing 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. And they're like, oh, yeah, pitching isn't even his best trait. It's hitting. So every ball that he hits is literally a home run hit. So if I wasn't going to take him for pitcher, I had to take Steve Nebraska as my hitter.
Nice pick.
Nice.
All right, Brandon, so who do you have for your hitter?
Well, mine, I'd have to go a little farther, not say a little farther back, but a little like the old baseball. I have to go with Mr. Redford, Roy Hobbs from The Natural. That lefty pretty swing is just something that you can't get over. I think lefties, I have no idea why, but I think they have the prettiest swings in baseball. And I thought him with that hit into the lights that you'll never forget, and you'll always remember the lights, the lights coming down, all the sparkles and everything. Yeah, got to go with Roy Hobbs there.
That's a good movie as well.
Nice.
And Robert Redford, that was just such a perfect role for him. And I think there was a time where they actually said that he played college baseball, and he was touted to play in the major leagues when he was younger. So that movie was very well ingrained to his personal life, and he did all the baseball sequences himself and everything. And it looks better when the actor actually looks like an athlete when they're doing those stunts. It just works out so much better. So he was a natural indeed. So I had that on my list, but yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
I had a couple alternates backing me up there just in case. You guys with the hitters, I had to come up with a few because I knew there's a lot of good ones out there. My alternate for him was going to be Jack Elliott of Mr. Baseball. If someone took Roy Hobbs, took Roy Hobbs, Mr. Baseball was going to be my backup there. I thought
Tom
Selleck
his stash alone could knock it out of the park. I'm just saying. Who I had for my backup as hitter was what was it? What did I have? Stan Ross, Mr. 3000, Bernie Mac.
Yeah.
Just because, that's a terrible pick because that's the whole point is he never achieved his acclaim. But, it's Bernie Mac. I just thought that was funny. But, yeah, I didn't even think to ask you guys what your other backups were now that we cleared them out without any steals. So far, I think we're all pretty good about who we've chosen. Like, this is really good. I'm definitely going to need to know who some of your backup pitchers were. But I guess, Brandon, so since we're doing managers last, I guess fielder is the last one that we're going to do before managers. So who did you choose for your fielder?
Including catcher, I had to go with the Queen of Diamonds herself. I had to go with Dottie Henson. I went there. Yeah, that's right.
I was thinking of her, too.
I thought not only is she a great fielder, but she can also hit it in the batter's box, too. So I was like, the great Dottie Henson right now is going to be my pick for fielder.
I had her as well. And although the only reason why I didn't choose her is because I don't know what you guys think of or where you stand on that final game of that movie. I felt like she threw it. I think she threw it for Kit, for her little sister Tank Girl, because there's no way that Lori Petty is mowing down that 5'10" Amazon goddess Gina Davis by any stretch of the imagination. The only way that she's able to get her to the plate is by letting her, because she has the ball in her hand and she lets it go. That's just my theory. I don't know about you guys, but I can't have someone like that on my team.
I tell you what, she is the leader of the team. She's amazing. I don't know why you would not want her on your team. And just because of that, yeah, Brandon, I'm stealing this one.
Oh, I was afraid of that. I was afraid of that. It's okay.
Can I steal it from you, Chris? I'm just saying.
No,
The first steal. The first steal of the...
I told myself, man, if anybody picked her, I'm stealing it. I don't care what happens. Because, like I said, she was a leader of the team. And just because of what she did in that last scene, yes, she may have thrown it, but that just goes to show you the character that she has, and family values. And with my already ragtag group that I have, they need some leadership, and at least she can tell them to put some pants on.
Yeah. With Lelouch, you definitely need Henson back there, okay?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, y'all are making me think about this theory at the very end of the movie. Why would Dottie, like, she is like the ultimate competitor, why would she let that game go? I understand what you're saying about Kit, but even in the moment, I mean, like, I don't see her just like that fall.
Because she knew it was over. That was it for her. She knew Kit had a more coming towards her. And if Kit was able to become the star then and there, it was going to set her up. And Gina and Dottie was done. She knew she was done. After that game, it was over. She wasn't coming back to play anymore, and she didn't. You know, she wanted to be with her family. So, you know what? Set her sister up. Be the person that did that for her. So,
I like that.
That's exactly what I was. And it's like, because the whole theme for Kit was how she's living in her sister's shadow, and she's pissed off the whole movie. Oh, why does Dottie this, Dottie that? So I think that Dottie is also someone who cares about her and knows well enough that that's how she feels about her. So, like Chris said, that's exactly why I feel like she gave up that game. But she's definitely the best looking pick that we've had on any of our lists.
Yes,
that's for damn sure. Gina Davis, man, back in the day, she was like, man, she could do everything. Like, she could do action and, like, The Long Kiss Goodnight. And, you know, Cutthroat Island isn't the best movie, but I still kind of liked it, and she was great in it. But, man, she was just such a statuesque individual, and that was a really great part.
In Thelma and Louise, I mean, she has a great, she's great in Thelma and Louise throughout the entire time.
So does Susan Sarandon, for that matter. Like, they both, especially now that, like, as I'm older and I watch it, you know, as a kid, you're just like, whatever. But as a grown-up, you're like, damn, Thelma and Louise. Like, don't drive off that cliff. Stop by. I'll hide you from everybody. But yeah, that's pretty good, Chris. So, all right. So you officially stole. Brandon has to have a backup. Yeah.
Okay, my backup. Okay, now I think he's a utility player. That's why I had him, and I've had him in multiple places. And so I'm gonna go with Benny the Jet Rodriguez as my fielder out there.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he does everything for that Sandlot team, hit, throw, field. So at this point in my lineup, I'm taking Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
That's pretty good. He definitely, and he has to have his PF flyers too. Like, I don't think he can play without them. And, you know, as we shared on our socials, that the Sandlot just went through its 30th anniversary last week, which is very depressing. I don't know how it got to 30 years already, but that's pretty crazy. So, yeah, but Benny the Jet, not bad. Definitely a better pick than Hamilton the Babe Porter. So I definitely would go that way. You know what? So I'll go ahead and do my fielder. And now that y'all's are locked in, I almost want to steal Dottie from you, Chris, but I shall not.
She's already locked. You can't.
You know, I haven't had anybody from the Major League Cleveland Indians, and I think that this player is the best one to take. And that would be Jake Taylor. Catcher, co-manager, and eventual, you know, he becomes a manager in Major League 2, but I need Jake as my catcher. Because much like Dottie, he is a guy that circles the wagons of all of those complete buffoons. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that everybody has to look up to. Well, that's Jake. Sure, his knees are pretty shot. But you know what? Much like Dottie's end of her career is pretty quick, so is Jake Taylor. So you know what? I need Jake Taylor on my team just long enough to get us to the pennant of fake movie baseball series. And Tom Berenger in that movie, man, he's so, like, cool, calm, and collected. And I think he was coming off of, I don't know if he had done Platoon yet, but if anybody remembers Tom Berenger in Platoon, like, my God, what a psychopath, you know? For him to come back and play Jake Taylor, the catcher who's just kind of on his twilight of his career, and everybody's looking to him. He's almost as if he's kind of like playing this Kevin Costner and Bull Durham, you know, a guy that still loves the game, knows that it's almost over, but he just kind of wants to help as many people as he can, these young guys. And I mean, he's just a great guy. Plus, you know, he gets to hook up with Renee Russo in her prime. So, you know, he's got.
I don't know, man. He's got some bad knees, though, man.
That is true. I mean, my God, when he's running to first, that's like one of the most brutal things I've ever seen in my life. Some bone crunching action right there. But I guess it's more or less for his leadership, much like your pick for Dottie. I'm going to go with Jake Taylor, played by Tom Berenger, and Major League.
I have a question for you guys. Which ending of a movie do you get more, in a sense, emotional about? Do you get more emotional at the end of that Indians game, or do you get more emotional at the end of that Peaches, the end of League of Their Own? Because both of them, I think, are so dramatic. And as a competitor, as a player, you're just both like clinging kind of towards the end. No matter how much you watch it, you're still kind of and you know the outcome because you've seen the movie multiple times, right? But it's still kind of dramatic. Which one do y'all like kind of, you know, get more emotion and I guess get more emotional over?
I mean, I think with Major League, it's two different ranges of emotion. With Major League, you're happy because they win. So you're like, yeah, all right, go team. But then with the Peaches, they lose. So you're just kind of, you know, you feel two different feelings, like when your team wins and then when your team loses. So it just kind of depends on how you feel. But I guess more of an emotional wreck. Yeah, I mean, A League of Their Own, just for all the reasons that we were talking about. And now this new controversy of Dottie being a loser and quit on the team. Nice pick, Chris. That I think that it's pretty sad that she sacrificed the whole team for her sister. I was like, hey, what about Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell? Like, what are you doing? And
they'll be fine.
I don't know. What do you think, Chris? What are you more?
So my thoughts on it is that younger me, yes, the League of Their Own was a little more emotional because I'm like you. Like I could not see myself giving up a game. So for her to do that, I'm like, man, that was badass. It was so emotional, and it was like, yes, okay. But now that I'm older, and when I see the end of him running those bases, I feel more emotional because my knees hurt just like his, and the pain that I know he's going through is a lot.
Yeah. About Major League, though, when I think about it, when I think about the last games of both of those movies, like Major League had a lot more moments, I think, that more stand-up and cheer moments. Like, for example, Serrano finally hits one out of the park. Wild Thing comes back, and then there's that whole little internal rivalry between him and Dorn, and him unknowingly sleeping with Dorn's wife. And so there's this, like, this unspoken just hatred he has towards Rick Vaughn. And, you know, again, my catcher, Jake Taylor, is like, oh, shit, you know, when they're, like, going to the mound together, and he's like, strike this dude out, you know, and stuff like that. And then when Ricky Vaughn throws that over 100-mile-per-hour fastball, I think there's just a lot more moments in the Major League game that kind of puts it over the top for me personally. And then, of course, Willie Mays Hayes, he's stealing every single base. I mean, he's so fast that you can't stop him. And he was almost my fielder too, but he can't really hit the ball. You know who I should have chosen for my fielder was Wesley Snipes, not in Major League, but in The Fan as Bobby Rayburn.
Oh,
yeah. Now that he was really good in that movie. He had the first $40 million contract for any San Francisco Giant. Now I think most of the players on the San Francisco Giant get that as a base pay, but back in 1996, that's pretty high. Yeah. And he goes through that slump, but. Man, Wesley Snipes, he just always had this like natural-looking athletic ability, and his speed as Willie Mays Hayes. I mean, that he won him the game basically. Yeah. I mean, it ends on that, right? With him, he stole the third, and because Jake sacrificed his kneecaps. That's right. Yep. That's how that all goes down.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely Major League. I'm going to go with Major League as my favorite ending. The long-winded answer. All right, so I guess that leaves us with managers. Who did it end on? I already forgot. We talked about some.
You just ended.
Okay. Oh, so it's
Yeah.
me. I get to
That's
go.
you. Yeah, you
Oh
can go.
my God! This is what I didn't want to happen. Okay. Oh well, you already stole, right, Chris?
Yep.
So you can't steal anymore. Okay, Brandon, you still have a steal, right?
I do.
Okay. Oh boy, here we go. Oh well, I have one steal, so I think it'll be okay. My pick for manager is none other than Morris Buttermaker, played by Walter Matthau for the Bad News Bears.
Oh, classic.
Favorite baseball movie, and he's a drunk. He smokes on the mound. Yes, he uses his team for child labor, but you got to get the job done. And in some kind of Miyagi way, I felt like that made the team better. Because that's the whole point. He comes in here, and you want to talk about a ragtag group of kids. Like, these kids are Bad News Bears. They are terrible. They have potty mouths. They have no discipline. They just don't give a damn about anything. But they all seem to love one thing, and that's playing baseball. And that is exactly what someone like Morris Buttermaker is able to do. He's able to work this team together. He has a couple of drafts himself with Amanda Wurlitzer, played by Tatum O'Neal, who was actually one of my pitchers, just in case one of you guys decided to take Henry Rowan-Gardner. Apparently children are at the mound on my team. I think that's going to solidify this and have Walter Matthau as my manager for sure. Yeah, 100%. Bad News Bears.
Yeah, he's the only one that can control your little kid pitcher. So yeah, I get it.
Right? Yeah. See, he worked with the kid pitcher with Tatum O'Neal. See, it all threaded together. It just worked out. Just so happy about this. All right, who's next? Sorry, I'm just so elated by my super pennant-winning team.
Would it be me and then Brandon last?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
ahead.
right. That's right.
Yeah. My manager is probably the greatest manager in baseball movie history. One reason why is because he's probably the youngest baseball manager ever in movie history and did great with the team. And that was Billy Hayward, Little Big League.
Nice.
And if you're a 12-year-old boy that can go in and make the Minnesota Twins win, you've got to have something. And so the way he handles the adults, the way he handles the front office, he's going to be able to wrangle in a little Luth. He might get distracted by Gina Davis a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, we saw that Night Nurses from whatever video he was watching. Little pervert. He can't even control his hormones. Chris, you think he's going to control your team?
He is.
I love that movie, though. That movie was so good. They were like, okay, so we had a kid be a pitcher on a major league team. How can we up this? Oh, we'll just make him the owner and club manager next. And that's how you get Little Big League. I was like, damn, they really stepped it up a bit there. But, man, I love that movie. And who was it on some of his notable players? Like Jonathan Silverman. I had his character as one of my possible pitchers. I can't even remember all the players
all the cast in that movie,
It's such a good, but that is a good movie, and I
is.
actually watched that not too long ago, and it holds up pretty well. It's not bad at all, and because you see some of these movies when you're younger, and it has this like certain fantasy element to it that you kind of feel like, man, I've really gotten past that as a grown up, but it's harnessed pretty well in that. So that's a good pick. He doesn't have the drunken ability to control his team like Buttermaker does, but that's cool. That's
Hey,
pretty
but he'll
good.
grow into it. He's got
Right.
years.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so Brandon, your club manager, please.
All right. Well, to close this out, I have to finish with somebody from one of my favorite movies, excuse me. I had it earlier, and Chris stole it, so I'm going to go with the great Jimmy Dugan. Manager of the Peaches. Had to go with him. I mean, there is no crying in baseball. There is no crying in baseball. Right? Right? You got to use that lump that's 3 feet above your ass. There's two great lines right there from Jimmy Dugan just alone, right?
Yeah.
So and when he calls, his I'm forgetting her name now, right? But he calls the fielder over, right? And she misses the cutoff man, and he calls it over, and it's the last game. He's just like shaking from a nervous breakdown, trying to tell her like, in the off season we're gonna have to really work on hitting the cutoff man. Even that's the third line right there. Just of his great lines. So Jimmy Dugan has to finish off my team as manager. I got to have him right there in the dugout. So You got if you lead the Peaches to the World Series, you can manage my team.
Do you think that a character like Jimmy Dugan would work today in today's kind of like cancel culture and stuff? I don't think he stands a chance, which is why
neither would
makes
Buttermaker.
No, definitely not Buttermaker.
So wait,
neither would those kids either.
Both Sosa's picked drunk ass managers. Okay, cool.
Hey man, we know what gets the job done.
Exactly.
But you mentioned there's no crying in baseball. That's arguably the most popular line in any baseball movie or any sports movie or any movie period. Like that's one of the most quotable lines of the 90s, and that it's all him. It's all Tom Hanks, and I like that role for Tom Hanks because he's not your conventional, oh, I'm the sweet guy, I'm the nice guy, I'm the lovable character. He is a very, very non-lovable character in that movie, but then it's also Tom Hanks, so we can't help but like him anyway. So, that's a good pick.
And Tom Hanks is always great when he's not traveling. So
that is true, because something bad always happens.
What happens?
That is true. What is that? Why is that even? If he's on some form of transportation, something bad is happening. Damn, I never thought about that. But yeah, I mean that's a pretty good pick. I'm just glad nobody picked Buttermaker because I would have been really upset. All right, so if you want to each run down your players again, I'm going to start with mine. My pitcher again was Henry Rowan Gardner from Rookie of the Year. My fielder/catcher was Jake Taylor from Major League, played by Tom Berenger. My hitter was Steve Nebraska, played by Brendan Fraser from The Scout. And my manager was Morris Buttermaker, performed by Walter Matthau in the Bad News Bears original, not that Billy Bob Thornton remake crap.
Oh, was that just bad?
Movie.
Was that just
Terrible.
a bad remake?
Terrible.
When are we gonna get past remakes, guys? When are we gonna get past that?
Never.
It's not happening.
Yeah, it just
nobody can come up with good new ideas anymore. It's just like music.
But why does it have to be? How do I say this? In a sense, placated and played down. Why can't you keep the original attitude and sense of the movie? Why do you have to? When you do a remake now, it's got to be in such a different direction. What y'all know more about this than I do. I'm asking you guys this question.
I feel like because they're trying to differentiate the original from the remake, and sometimes that just, because the whole concept of remaking something was you're trying to capture what made the original so good, but then when you deviate away so far from it, you're like, what is the point of this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you even do this? And I will say though that I don't mind isn't so much remakes but sequels. Like, I don't care if you make a sequel to a movie that's 30 years old as long as there's continuity and new characters. Kind of like something like Ghostbusters Afterlife. I really enjoyed that movie because it's basically a sequel. Now the Ghostbusters remake, I didn't hate it. I just thought it was okay, but it was just unnecessary. Just kind of like what you said. It encapsulates all those theories that you had about remakes, and it's all in one movie. Like, why is this done? What's the point of this? If all of the Ghostbusters come back as cameos, why couldn't they have just played themselves and make this part of the original world? Like, make it canon, and then people probably would have gravitated towards it so much better. But they didn't, and it flopped, basically. So Ghostbusters Afterlife becomes a sequel, and this becomes this whole like discussion about these sequels, these like quasi reboots where they're a sequel but they're starting something new. And something like Cobra Kai, for example. Cobra Kai is great. I mean, we love Cobra Kai on the podcast. We talk about it all the time. And essentially it's a sequel, but it's also a new way of telling it. And it feels like a remake, but it's not. It's the same story, same characters. And I think if they do things like that, that works for me. It's like instead of recasting Indiana Jones and remaking it with a new young actor, let's just keep Harrison Ford in there. And, the Spear of Destiny is coming out this summer. So I don't care. If it's Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, it doesn't bother me one bit. So I'm all for sequels. But yeah, remakes, I don't know. You're starting to see less and less of them, but I don't think they'll ever stop. And I'm just hoping that it catches on that sequels, no matter how long it's been since the original or the previous entry, like, I just think that they should just keep doing sequels if they're just going to keep doing them. Top Gun Maverick, perfect example. It's the number one grossing movie of last year, made close to $2 billion, number one in the U.S., and it was a sequel to a movie 30 years ago. And instead of remaking Top Gun, make a sequel. So it works for me. I didn't mean to go on this rant, but
no.
but
I'm the
that's
same liking as you are. I don't understand why the continuity of characters has to change, or at least maybe evolve them into the sequel or whatever. But anyway, Chris, what's your take on remakes?
Man, remakes. Really, Steven just covered it all. I mean, it's hard to remake something great, and that's what they want to do 90% of the time is remake great movies. Well, how about trying to remake shitty movies into great movies? Do that instead of trying to bank off of the popularity of one movie that was already good. Go ahead and turn a shitty movie with a good idea and make it good. Like, I don't understand why there's not that in there, but it's Hollywood. There's money. Oh, this was already great. Let's go ahead and try another money grab and see what we can do with it. And in the process, they mess up the whole entire franchise of what was already great.
That's a good idea, man. I mean, it's not as good as my team on this baseball job, but that was a great thought. But Chris, on that note, please review your team. What did you call it? Voltage Viegas, whatever you said.
Viegas Voltage.
Oh, Viegas Voltage, yeah.
So, for my pitcher, I have Nuke Lelouch. For my fielder, I have as catcher Dottie Hinson.
Damn, that was a good one.
And my leader of the team, and I stole it from Brandon, and I don't feel bad one bit.
Like a true baseball owner.
Yeah.
That's right. My hitter is Pedro Serrano with Joe Boo. Until he gets in trouble with the curve, then he has to do it himself. Yeah. And then to wrangle in my ragtag team, I chose the 12-year-old Billy Hayward as my manager.
To keep everybody together, you have the 12-year-old. I got it.
I like that. These old vets, and then this kid is gonna.
He'll bring back the purity of the love for the game. That's
just like we were talking about. Chris, that Luke Edwards, who is Billy Hayward, was the Wizard in The Wizard. If he's half as good at playing video games as he is, he could probably do pretty well.
Do it.
All right, Brandon, so please tell us your team and players.
Like I said, I still don't have a clever name for this squad, but, I don't know if his team needs a name after you hear. Let's listen to the lineup here. Because we got Ricky, the Wild Thing Vaughn on the mound. I've got my guy, Benny the Jet Rodriguez, playing all over the field. I've got the lefty natural swing of Roy Hobbs, and I've got Jimmy Dugan in the dugout handling my team. So I don't think this team needs a name based on that lineup.
Damn, that's a stacked team, Chris. Like, when he laid it all out like that, I'm looking at mine like, man, they don't even deserve to be in the Pee-wee leagues. And half of them are Pee-wee players. Damn, that's pretty good, man. I don't know. I'm not going to succeed or anything, but
his squad is so damn good that Jimmy Dugan can just stay drunk as shit.
He can be passed out in the dugout and still win. Man, but that's good. I mean, I guess, but this is why we bring you in for your expertise. Me and Chris are just all over the place, and your professionalism is at an all-time high right now.
Right.
Just a bit outside.
I have to admit, though, Chris's team has got some character spectrum, though. I mean, you're going all the way from Lelouch to Serrano. Then you got Hinson and Hayward. I think that cast of characters for Chris is pretty good. I think that dugout would be pretty nice, between
it'd make a good movie. That's about it.
Brandon, you're being nice. That's a freak show over there. That is American Horror Story baseball. I don't know what is going on over there.
But I didn't want to give him the normal Sosa treatment that you give him, so I'm trying to be a little nice.
I know, that is true. You see, Chris, he's the nice one, and I'm the mean one.
There you go.
I do kind of feel like Dottie Hinson is probably the number one overall, MVP of this little baseball league. I mean, she's the one that you stole, and we were all talking about stealing. I think that she's probably the most popular player. And I mean, so that being said, with A League of Their Own being clearly one of our more favorite baseball movies, like Brandon, what would you say is your all-time favorite baseball movie?
Oh, all-time baseball movie. It comes down to two. and it comes down to the Natural and the League of Their Own. But I always lead with the League of Their Own. I love the story, as a whole, but there's also truth. There's facts into that. With the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, I thought the first time I watched it, I didn't know anything about the All-Girls Professional Baseball League, and as a baseball fan, I found that fascinating. World War II was a special time, for this entire country, and for women to step in, not just in jobs, but also in sporting roles, to keep baseball, in a sense, going. I thought it was fascinating. So I think the mixture of history and the story, A League of Their Own, and the emotion. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get emotional at the end at A League of Their Own. Even I know what's happening. I cheer for Dottie the entire time, and then the ball drops. I'm just like you just fall apart a little bit on the inside. A League of Their Own is my favorite baseball movie.
And then when you hear Madonna's song,
yes. Thank you very much. And they all show up at the baseball field. They're playing baseball again. Yeah, you just you do. You just want to cry, man. So, but I'll give you another close second is The Sandlot, and that's just for nostalgia purposes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway.
All right, Chris, what about you? What's your all-time favorite baseball movie?
Oh, man, I'd have to say Major League.
Yeah.
So fun. To me, baseball is supposed to be fun, and that brings a lot of fun to it. And it's hard to beat that cast. The cast was fun to watch, and, everything. The sequels kind of suck, so don't watch the sequels.
That third one, Back to the Minors, was just really rough, man.
Yeah.
Part 2 holds on a little bit better because it still had the original cast. I mean, with the exception of Omar Epps replacing Wesley Snipes as Willie Mays Hayes.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for Epps because he just did not have that personality, it just didn't match. Like, Omar Epps was never known for his personality in films, and to be playing a guy...
the fullback.
You fullback.
That was the other.
Darnell Jefferson. Yeah, that's the program.
Yeah,
but he's got the athletic prowess, just like Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
But Major League... Oh, man, I love that movie. It is so funny.
And I do have to say a close second to me, and again, nostalgia purposes, like Brandon... is Angels in the Outfield, man.
Oh, that's good. Oh,
you
that's
know
a good
what,
one, man.
Chris? I'm surprised. Like, I honestly thought you were going to pick Danny Glover as your manager. I really did. You really surprised me.
It was close, man.
Yeah.
And I was also really close into not stealing Dottie Hinson and just taking all the Angels as my fielders. But I thought that was a little bit of a stretch. So
yeah, you had some guys out, Matthew McConaughey, Neil McDonough. Those guys were out there playing. I mean, that's a great movie too. I don't know what Disney's problem, but they don't have it on Disney Plus. Can you believe that? They don't have Disney's Angels in the Outfield on Disney Plus. Yeah, it's really stupid. They don't even have it up converted to Blu-ray. It really pisses me off that I still have that white shelled DVD case. It's like you have all these level Blu-rays, and then there's that one Angels in the Outfield sticking up. It's Halo at the top. But I do love that movie though. And again, much like Rookie of the Year, Little Big League, it fits right into that perfect trilogy of fantasy baseball kid movies in the 90s. And Sandlot, I mean, what's funny about The Sandlot is that there's no real, they're not a real team per se, and they don't play any games. They just play, and then all the adventures that come along with it. It just makes it such a great movie. But my favorite is The Bad News Bears. Like, it's still, it doesn't hold up socially speaking. There's a lot of really, really bad racial language. And I'm like, damn, this is pretty rough. I remembered watching it with my kids when they were little, like 10 years ago, and we were all watching The Bad News Bears, and they're just going on these racial rants. I'm like, oh my god! Like, I don't care if they say the F word, but that's bad. And but I mean, still as a movie, like as a learning lesson, I mean, I love old movies like that. They didn't care about anything, but I love the movie. I hated the fact that they didn't win. Like, that's another game they didn't win. I felt more heartbroken about that than like you feel, Brandon, about the Rockford Peaches. Like, I hate that these Yankees treat them like shit the entire movie, and they don't even get their comeuppance at the end. It's like, and I love how Buttermaker's like, don't you want to beat those bastards? He's like so fired up about it. And and of course you want to talk about, much like Major League, like the sequels of Bad News Bears and Breaking Training and Go to Japan. Holy crap, they are horrible. absolutely horrible. And we had talked about the remake with Billy Bob Thornton, and that was horrible too. You know what's funny about the remake was it's directed by Richard Linklater, who did Dazed and Confused, School of Rock. Well, he actually did a movie, Everybody Wants Some. Did you guys see that? It's about those guys. It's set in the 80s. It's like a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. It's set in the 80s, and it shows these guys that play for a college baseball team, and it's great. Chris, it has Tyler Hoechlin, who's currently Superman on Superman and Lois.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's like one of the main players. It has Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick. They're all on the team together. And if you guys have never seen Everybody Wants Some, you guys have got to check it out. It's such a great movie. It's funny. Like I said, it's like a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. These guys are playing a college baseball team in Texas, and it's so good. And I watched another baseball movie that I'm thinking about. It's called Sugar, and I think Sugar is on Prime. I don't know if you've... And Chris, I think you remember me talking about Sugar. It's about this Dominican Republican player, much like our Uncle Sammy Sosa, Brandon.
Exactly.
He comes to America to play on this minor league team, and it's so good. It's a very fascinating little indie flick, but I highly recommend Sugar too. But yeah, Bad News Bears, favorite movie. So any more closing thoughts before we wrap up the season of baseball flicks and characters? Sounds good.
I have one question that I always like,
sure.
and I know it's kind of a tad bit off topic, but we have a sports expert here with us, and
Where?
right here in the middle of my screen. This is a debate that has gone on in the Screen Addicts for some time now. I do like to get everybody's opinion on this. So, Brandon, the movie Rudy, is it a football movie or is it not a football movie?
Ooh, wow. Okay. The first thing I'll tell you before I answer that question is that I have a gentleman. I won't name his name, but there's a gentleman on my podcast that does not like the movie Rudy. Does not care for it.
Kick him off the show.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Why is he still on?
That's the first thing I'll tell you. And the second thing I'll tell you is that I think Rudy is a football movie, and I'll say it this way. The reason I'll say it is because Rudy plays with a lot of heart, and I think there's guys that you watch on the football field that I'll give you an example. Okay, he used to be a Dallas Cowboy. Cole Beasley, if you walked up to him on the street, you wouldn't know Cole Beasley was a football player. You wouldn't know. You couldn't pick him out from somebody else out there that's walking down the street, right? The kid plays with a lot of heart. He plays with a lot of heart, and you can see it on everything that he does, right? And there's plenty of other players. I think of Bill Bates for the Cowboys. Didn't have a lot of athletic ability, but the guy just played with a lot of heart. He was special to the team. In the same way, I think Rudy is special to his team in that movie because he plays with a lot of heart. He earns the respect of his football team and the players there not because he's the biggest or the baddest or the best guy out there, but because he gets up and has a lot of grit and a lot of heart, and he won't give up on himself for the team, and he knows that. And after a while, guys like that, they earn your respect. And so for that fact right there alone, I consider Rudy a football movie.
Yeah,
Jerome, if you're listening, suck it.
I was going to say, like, neither of us didn't say that it wasn't a football movie. I full on, when we had our, was it the football draft, right, Chris?
Yeah,
when we were talking about it. And, like, Jeremy out of pocket was like, Rudy's not a football movie. We're like, what? What, are you insane? Like, are you high right now? What are you talking about? He's going to play football for the University of Notre Dame, one of the most prestigious colleges in the country. Like, what are you talking about? The whole last half of the movie is him playing football. And I don't know. It was a really weird debate. Him and Chris were going at it. I was like, damn, we're about to have to put the pads on and let you guys just knock one out or something.
Well, what was his perspective? Why is he saying it's not a football? I'm curious now. Why is he saying it's not a football movie?
Because Jeremy has the perspective of a football movie should have a team, like competing, trying to win, I guess, like the trophy or state or a championship or something. Like he always sees football movies as more of a traditional grouping of players, like something like Varsity Blues, Any Given Sunday, Friday Night Lights, stuff like that, where, it shows like a whole group of players in one team all trying to work together to get to one goal, which is win the big game, whatever that big game happens to be. The Replacements is another one. And I guess in his mind, he just didn't think that one player's journey to play on this team. And what was crazy was, like, off the air, I asked him, I was like, well, do you not I mean, do you consider, I thought you said Invincible was a football movie. Like, that's literally just about Mark Wahlberg's perspective as, you know, Vince Papale playing on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's basically Rudy, but just in the major league. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how can you say that's a football movie, but not Rudy? And I don't know. It was just a weird day, but I'm glad Chris brought that back up to the stadium lights.
Sorry, we had a sports expert, man. I had to ask.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of what other sport movies we could do next, because this was really good. You brought a lot of insight to the baseball theme. When's wrestling season?
Oh, let's totally do that. The Wrestler is a good movie. Even I appreciate that movie. That's a really good one. So I'm game for any. I'm game for any sports movie, or even just talking about the bad ones and which we should remake. I'm up for that too.
Sounds good.
Good.
All right, Chris. Well, if you don't have any other controversies you want to stir up on the diamond, by all means, close us out, sir.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We enjoyed this episode, and we sure as hope heck you did too. Wherever you're listening, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when we drop new episodes every week. Also, since you're there, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. It helps us get seen just a little bit more on all the platforms. And then on our way to the social medias, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just look up the Screen Addicts Podcast. You are sure to find us. On Twitter, though, you do have to spell Addicts, Addics. Also, look for us on TikTok. Brand new over there, and Steven is dropping movie reviews, little short ones on stuff he's been watching, kind of a prelude to our mini-sode that is coming later this week. So follow us there as well. And then also, if you have any questions, suggestions, or heck, you just want to yell at us because we don't know baseball, go ahead and email us at the screenaddictspodcast@gmail.com. We'll answer any questions and read them out loud on the show. Other than that, guys, thank you, Brandon, so much for joining us. It was a blast, my friend.
And Brandon, again, plug your stuff before we go, Chris.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. Off Our Game podcast. You can get us on Twitter and Facebook at Off Our Game. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts are out there. Same thing. If you enjoy what we listen to, share and like is all we ask. Is share and like. And it's a pleasure being up here with you guys. I appreciate it very much.
Cool. So for me, good night.
From the owner of the Cinema Serpents, adios, amigos.
With the no-name squad that doesn't need a name still. My pleasure, guys, as always.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. 'Cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/screenaddicts. That's betterhelp.com/screenaddicts.
Breaking news. Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right, they are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with a brand new beard hedger. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the beard hedger allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using the code SCREENADDICTS for 20% off and free shipping.